we're all good. All right. Hello, everyone. Peace. I pray that everyone's having a great day. Thank you again for tuning in to our daily Bible reading. Again, my name is Xavier. Who I am really isn't important. But concerning our daily reading, we'll be picking up starting at 2 Samuel 6. We'll pick up there. Yesterday we read 2 Samuel 1 through 5. And it was really the trend. It was about the transition of Saul being king over Israel to getting David king over Israel. In the end of 1 Samuel, it ended with Saul, the first king of Israel, dying. He ended up dying, killed himself in battle. And the Lord had already anointed David to be king after him. But of course, it wasn't that easy. Saul's people felt like they should still be king in Israel. But, at the end of the day, what the Lord wants to happen is going to happen. The Lord already said Saul and his seed going to be cut off forever. So they were never going to be king again. But, of course, they were mad about it. So the wars between Saul's people and David's people started happening. But eventually, the Lord's will was done. And David officially became king. But it's a great read if you haven't read it. So I go check into that as well. But yeah, today we'll be picking it up at 2 Samuel chapter 6. But before we get started with there, we have our daily proverb reading that we read. And since today is March 26th, let me check and make sure. Yep, March 26th, we'll read Proverbs chapter 26 today. So, Proverbs chapter 26 and verse 1. As snow in summer and as rain in harvest, so honor is not seemly for a fool. As the bird by wandering and as the swallow by flying, so the curse causeless shall not come. A whip for the horse, a bridle for the ass, and a rod for the fool's back. Answer not a fool according to his folly, lest thou also be like him. Answer a fool according to his folly, lest he be wise in his own conceit. So at the beginning of this chapter, it's talking about a fool, right? It says, as snow in summer and as rain in harvest, so honor is not seemly for a fool. Like, it doesn't belong to a fool. Fools don't deserve, fools haven't earned or don't deserve, it's just not, it doesn't belong to it. Just like snow in summer. It's in no way, shape, form, or fashion should snow ever be happening in summer. That's just not usual. It's not supposed to happen. Just like rain and harvest, but just like honor to a fool. Honor is not good for a fool, right? Verse 2, as the bird by wandering, as the swallow by flying, so is the curse causeless shall not come. A whip for the horse, a bridle for the ass, and a rod for the fool's back. To me, that's just funny because we whip horses and things of that nature, but the rod is going to be for the fool, right? But verse 4, answer not a fool according to his folly, lest thou also be like unto him, and answer a fool according to his folly, lest he be wise in his own conceit. These two verses in chapter 26, verses 4 and 5, are like the epitome of discretion, right? Wisdom. Even in Ecclesiastes chapter 3, when it's a time and place for everything, right? In certain instances, answer not a fool according to his folly, lest thou also be like unto him. In certain cases, it's better to just be quiet. Especially, you see those people in the streets and they're both just arguing. Well, people walking by and things of that nature, they don't even know who the fool, they both look stupid to the person walking by. So what you're doing is really no good. At that point, you might as well just be quiet. But in other cases, where it says answer a fool according to his folly, lest he be wise in his own conceit, sometimes, people get to saying stupid stuff, right? And it's your job to, and give an answer or correct, right? Like it says, lest he be wise in his own conceit, lest he start believing the stuff that he's actually saying and believing it's true and things of that nature, right? So it's really just the epitome of discretion, wisdom. knowing when and when not to do something. It's really that simple. Like even in the New Testament, it talks about, when your brother is offended by meat, by you eating meat, don't eat meat. There's nothing wrong with eating meat, but in certain instances, you just don't need to do it, right? If it becomes an offense to someone else, point being, you can do the same thing. And in one case, you're right. In one case, you're wrong. And that's just how it works, right? That's where discretion and wisdom comes in. But that's what verse 4 and 5 is talking about. But verse 6, he that sendeth the message by the hand of a fool cutteth off the feet and drinketh damage. Like you're doing it to your own hurt. Use wisdom. Why is you sending a message to a fool anyway? Right? Verse 7, the legs of the lame are not equal. So is a parable in the mouth of fools. As he that bindeth the stone in a sling, so is he that giveth honor to a fool. As a thorn goeth up into the hand of a drunkard, so is the parable in the mouth of fools. The great God that formed all things, both rewarded the fool and rewarded the transgressors. Like, you're getting rewarded. A reward doesn't necessarily mean a good thing. Romans chapter 6 tells you about, the wages of the reward for your foolishness or for your transgression, or in other words, for your sin, right? Verse 11, as a dog returns to his vomit, so a fool returns to his father. Like as a dog, we see in real life, a dog throws up and then goes and eats it. That's kind of the same. That's the same with the fool. Like a fool can, try to turn or but he's always going to return back to that same foolishness that he was always on, right? Never got it out of him. Always kept it in him, right? Point being, he's going to return back to that folly. That's something to keep in your mind when you're dealing with people. Verse 12, seest thou a man wise in his own conceit? There is more hope of a fool than of him. So saying all of that about the fool, hey, a man wise in his own conceit, what is that? In your own pride, in your own knowledge, in what you know, right? You're wise you're wise, or you fully believe in your own quote unquote conceit or wisdom, pride, things of that nature. There is more hope of a fool than of him. So like a fool has a better chance of turning to the Lord than someone who is wise in their own conceit, or truly believe in like what they know, trusting in their own knowledge and in their own ways and in their own thoughts, right? Point being, he said all that he said about a fool, right? But they're even better than those that are proud and stubborn. The point being is, hey, and we talked about it before, with examples of Israel himself, Saul. Like as we continue to read, we've read about how important it is to keep your humility if you're going to serve God. Like you need it. It is a must. God resists the proud. He hates the proud, right? The father of pride is Satan. If you're proud, hey, Satan, you getting it from, like, that's not a godly trait. God himself is humble. It says he humbled himself from God into a man to die for us. God was humble, right? So point being, that pride isn't a trait of God. It's not a characteristic of God. It's a characteristic of Satan, right? So if you got that pride in you and you refuse to humble yourself and actually listen to what the Bible is saying, but instead listen to like trust in your own beliefs and your own thoughts, hey, it's not too much hope for you. There's more hope to a fool than for you, right? Verse 13, the slothful man saith, there's a lion in the way. A lion is in the streets. As the doors turn upon the hinges, so doth the slothful upon his bed. The slothful hideth his hand in his bosom. It grieveth him to bring it again to his mouth. So now we've changed the conversation to a sluggard, right? And the sluggard is, and it's really all in the same vein though, right? Fools, sluggard, transgressors, it all fall in the same vein. But it says a slothful man saith, there's a lion in the way, a lion. Point is, they're making excuses. They're always going to make excuses, right? For why they can't, won't, not going to do something. But the slothful hide his hand in his bosom, and it grieveth him to bring it to his mouth. So it's like, they're so lazy. This is how laziness gets you. This is why it's important, like, to ensure that you yourself aren't being lazy, and especially when you're raising kids, that you don't raise them up to be lazy. it's hard to overcome, right? And that stems from, letting them sit down all day, watching TV, like just building them the habit of being lazy instead of doing something, right? But it's so bad that it says you put your hand in your bosom, in your pocket, whatever, and it grieves you. Like it's troubling to bring it to your mouth, right? To feed yourself, right? That's how deadly being lazy is. Verse 16. The sluggard is wiser in his own conceit than 7 men that can render a reason. He that passeth by and meddleth with strife belongeth not. No. Verse 17. He that passeth by and meddleth with strife belonging not to him is like one that taketh a dog by the ears, as a madman who casteth firebrands, arrows, and death. So is the man that deceiveth his neighbor and saith, am not I in sport? To me, like, that's crazy. He's like, hey, the person that passes by and you start getting into strife, business, maybe problems that are going on between people, and it doesn't even belong, it has nothing to do with you. It says it's like one that taketh a dog by ear, or as a madman who casteth firebrands, arrows, and death. Like you're doing nothing but destroying. You're being messy, right? As so is the man that deceiveth his neighbor and saith, am not I in sport? Where no wood is, there's the fire goeth out. So where there is no talebearer, the strife ceases. And that was the conclusion. That was the main point of what he was saying. Hey, just like how when there's no wood, the fire goes out, or when there's no oxygen, the fire goes out. Hey, so does contention when you remove the talebearer from among you, right? Verse 21, as coals are to burning coals and wood to fire, so is a contentious man to kindle strife. Like, hey, you causing problems. Like you're a contentious man. That's what you want is problems. Because really, people oftentimes don't really like to hear this for whatever reason, but issues are going to happen. But strife and hate and arguing, all that type of stuff really should never even be, if we're being real. Like there's always order to everything, right? Even when there's a problem with me and another person, hey, I'm supposed to go to that brother. Like we read in Proverbs, I believe it could have been like 7, 8, but it talked about save your relationship with your friend, right? Go humble yourself to that person and apologize. Or and the other side, hey, go tell your brothers. Oftentimes we get mad at people for something they didn't even know that they did to us, right? We don't communicate, hey, you offended me when you did this, brother, blah, 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 blah. Point being, the point being is there's always an answer to a problem, right? There's always a right way to go about things, but the wrong way is always the ones that are not minding their own business, bringing up the strife, being a talebearer, going and telling everybody else's business. Like that's not the right way to go about it. That's terrible, and God hates those. God hates a talebearer, all right? And this also helps you recognize, hey, you always bringing up strife like you're a contentious man. I don't need you around me. So that's something we need to think about as we're walking in this world and we're picking our friends, right? Verse 22. The words of a talebearer are as wounds, and they go down into the innermost parts of the belly. Like, understand, that saying, sticks and stones break my bones, but words will never hurt me, is one of the most false statements in the world. That's just not true, right? The words of a talebearer are as wounds. They hurt. You go telling everybody else's business, you causing all this contention. You just did a whole bunch of damage just with your mouth alone. Point is, be quiet, right? 23, burning lips and a wicked heart are like a potsherd covered with silver dross. He that hateth dissembleth with his lips, and layeth up deceit within him. He that speaketh fair, believe him not, for there are 7 abominations in his heart. Whose hatred is covered by deceit, his wickedness shall be showed before the whole congregation. Whoso diggeth the pit shall fall therein, and he that rolleth the stone, it will return upon him. So, point being, the saying that we have in the world today is like, you dug the pit, lay in it, you get it from the Bible, right? He that dig the pit, gonna fall in it. Point is, you causing all these problems. You trying to set everybody up. You gonna be the one in that casket, right? Or in that pit. Verse 28. A lying tongue hateth those that are afflicted by it, and a flattering mouth worketh on. Right. But that's Proverbs chapter 26. This is a great chapter. Talks a lot, like we said, about the mouth and the talebearer, the person that is revealing secrets and just being messy, causing drama amongst the people, and just not being a good person, right? Like, you really have to be an evil person to just be telling everybody's business to everybody, causing, you're really saying it to hurt people in most cases. And even if you're not, it's not your business, be quiet, because that's what you're doing regardless. You're hurting people, right? Stop doing that. Stop opening your mouth. Stop being a talebearer, things of that nature. The Book of Solomon talks a lot about how the wise know to just shut up, to just be quiet, right? And that's something, we have to develop, right? We have to develop it. The Book of James talks a lot about the mouth and how much damage it can do, not only to them, but to yourself. Like, God doesn't like people that can't control their tongue, that are being talebearers, that are being liars, that are having corrupt communication and speaking with hate. God don't like that. Like, you will face, that is punishable. God will punish you for that. Point being, we have to get our mouth and our tongue controlled. It's the littlest part of our body, but does the most damage. Your mouth does more damage than a punch do, right? But point being, hey, that was Proverbs chapter 26. Amazing read. But we can go ahead and turn to 2 Samuel chapter 6, because that's what we'll be picking up today with our daily reading. I'm going to try to get quite a bit of reading done. So, But with that being said, in 2 Samuel 6, chapter 1. Again, David gathered together all the chosen men of Israel, and 30,000. And David arose and went with all the people that were with him from Baal of Judah, to bring up from this the ark of God, whose name is called by the name of Lord of hosts, that dwelleth between the cherubims. And they set the ark of God upon a new cart, and brought it out of the house of Abinadab that was in Gibeah. And Uzzah and Ahio, the sons of Abinadab, drave the cart. And they brought it unto the house of Abinadab, which was at Gibeah, accompanying the cart, accompanying the ark of God. And Ahio went before the ark. And David and all the house of Israel played before the Lord on all manner of instruments made of fir wood, even unto the harp, and on psalteries, and on timbrels, and on cornets, and on cymbals. And when they came to so David and them, they're moving the ark of God, right? That's what they're doing. They're moving the ark of God. Verse 6. And when they came to Nacon's threshing floor, Uzzah put forth his hand to the ark of God and took hold of it, for the oxen shook it. So now, as they're moving the cart, they run into some turbulence. The ark starts shaking. Maybe looks like it's gonna fall. So Uzzah puts his hand, like he catches it really. Verse 7. And the anger of the Lord was kindled against Uzzah, and God smote him there for his error, and there he died by the ark of God. Because in law, you're not supposed to touch it, period. Right? That's why they had the staves, is what they're called, I believe. When they were building the ark in Exodus chapter 16, maybe? It might be 16. But in the book of Exodus, when they were building, or they were given the instructions on how to build the ark, it was a box, right? And it had rings on the four corners of the box. And in them rings, they had like long sticks in the rings that you can carry. Like you can carry them by your shoulder. You can carry them like this, like a wheelbarrow. But it was on both sides, right? The point is, you had them handles so you didn't touch the ark of God itself. And that's how serious God took it. Hey, Uzzah, trying to do what he thought was right, by catching it, right? For the oxen shook it. Hey, it doesn't matter. God said don't do it. He died. Right? And that really just goes to testify on how when God says something, he's serious. It don't matter how minute or little it looks in your eyes. Right? It's all about, this is what he said, do it. Verse 8. And David was displeased because the Lord had made a breach upon Uzzah. And he called the name of the place Perez Uzzah to this day. And David was afraid of the Lord that day and said, how shall the ark of the Lord come to me? So David would not remove the ark of the Lord unto him into the city of David. But David carried it aside into the house of Obed-Edom the Gittites. And the ark of the Lord continued in the house of Obed-Edom the Gittite 3 months. And the Lord blessed Obed-Edom and all his household. So after that, David was like, I don't know how we're going to get this to me. Like, so he ended up just leaving it in the house of Obed-Edom. Right? That's, he just left it there. Because it was there, the Lord started to bless his household, bless him and his household, right? Verse 12. And it was told King David, saying, the Lord hath blessed the house of Obed-Edom and all that pertaineth unto him because of the ark of God. So David went and brought up the ark of God from the house of Obed-Edom into the city of David with gladness. And it was so that when they that bear the ark of the Lord had gone 6 paces, he sacrificed oxen and fatlings. And David danced before the Lord with all his might. And David was girded with the linen ephod. So David and all the house of Israel brought up the ark of the Lord with shouting and with the sound of the trumpet. And as the ark of the Lord came into the city of David, Michal, Saul's daughter, looked through a window and saw King David leaping and dancing before the Lord, and she despised him in his heart. So right now they're bringing this ark to the city of David, right? And because this was an important thing, that you're really saying you're bringing the Lord to this city, right? Because that's what the ark was. It was where the Lord was supposed to dwell in. So they're bringing the ark to where David's at, and he's happy, he's singing, he's rejoicing, he's having a good time, right? And as he's doing that, as verse 16 states, Michal, Saul's daughter, David's wife, she was looking at him through the window and seeing him dancing, having a good time, and it says she despised him in her heart. But it'll go more into verse 17. And they brought in the ark of the Lord and set it in its place in the midst of the tabernacle that David had pitched for it. And David offered burnt offerings and peace offerings before the Lord. And as soon as David had made an end of offering burnt offerings and peace offerings, he blessed the people in the name of the Lord of hosts. So, hey, they brought the ark of God into the new tabernacle, and David started doing offerings, right? And then he blessed the people. Verse 19, and he dealt among all the people, even among the whole multitude of Israel, as well to the women as men. To every one a cake of bread and a good piece of flesh and a flagon of wine. So all the people departed, everyone to his house. He took care of everyone, right? Verse 20. Then David returned to bless his household. So he came back to take care of his household. And Michal, the daughter of Saul, came out to meet David and said, how glorious was the king to Israel today, who uncovered himself today in the eyes of the handmaids of his servants, as one of the vain fellows shamelessly uncovered himself. So she's like, yeah, she basically she's really being nasty. She's like, how was your day? Like, let me read it again. He said, how glorious was the king today, who uncovered himself today in the eyes of the handmaids. So she really like you out there uncovering yourself, taking off your clothes in front of all these other women, right? And before all this house, no. To the eyes of the handmaids of his servants, as one of the vain fellows shamelessly uncovered himself. So it's like you shamelessly, like, you just uncover yourself with no shame, point being. But this was David's response. Verse 21. And David said unto Michal, it was before the Lord, which chose me before thy father and before all his house to appoint me ruler over the people of the Lord, over Israel. Therefore I will play before the Lord. So he's like, this is God. Like, this, I was dancing. I was having a good time for God. Well, really, like, why is you tripping? But the point is, a lot of people have their own, like, kind of, different reasonings why, as to Michal could have been upset, right? And it very well could be that he was getting undressed in front of these women dancing, having a good time, right? Who knows? I can't say that. But you also got to think, Michal was just with another man who loved her to death, right? Who loved her to death. Like literally, he was begging for David not to take her back. And now she's got to go deal. Now she's back with David, and he's over here dancing, got multiple wives, like uncovering himself in front of the maidens. Point being, like, from her eyes, it's like, dang, maybe I just left this. But again, I can't state that as a fact. But because the Bible doesn't say, it's just simply, hey, she brought up that he was uncovering himself, right? But anyway, so David ends up really checking her, like, I was doing this for the Lord. The Lord's done all this for me. You dang right I'm going to dance and sing and praise him, right? Verse 22, and I will yet be more vile than thus, and will be base in mine own sight. And of the maidservants which thou hast spoken of them shall I be had in honor. Therefore Michal, the daughter of Saul, had no children unto the day of her death. So that's the end of chapter 6. But really at the end he was like, yeah, the maidservants he was talking about, they going to have more, like, and of the maidservants which thou hast spoken of them shall I be had in honor. Like, I'm gonna be had of them in honor. Like, they, point being, like it says in verse 23, Michal didn't have no children until the day of her death. Like, so it says, therefore Michal. So because of this whole interaction, she ended up not having any children. And as you remember, especially in this world, and today, you know, we're so backwards, our mind's so corrupt. But back here, having children meant something. Like, there was numerous women who were grieved and really in pain and upset because they didn't have any children, right? Children were a heritage of the Lord, so it meant something. But she didn't have any children because of this whole interaction, right? But point being, that's chapter 6. We see the moving arc of God and bringing it into the city of David, right? Which we'll come to find out is Jerusalem. But that being said, that's pretty much all I have on chapter 6. So chapter 7 and verse 1. And it came to pass when the king sat in his house, and the Lord had given him rest about from all his enemies, that the king said unto Nathan the prophet, see, now I dwell in the house of cedar, but the ark of God dwelleth within the curtains. So this is David, right? David talking, he's the king. It's like, it's so interesting. Like, David was so dope. And it, like, just like when he says David was a man after the Lord's own heart, that's real. Like, just look, right? Verse 2, that the king said unto Nathan, so David's talking to the prophet, and he's like, see now, I dwell in the house of cedar, but the ark of God dwelleth in curtains. So he's like, I got this beautiful house, wood house, taken care of, but the Lord's dwelling in curtains. Like, he's looking onto the things of the Lord. Verse 3, and Nathan said to the king, go do all that is in thine heart, for the Lord is with thee. So he's like, yeah, go do. So really, David in his mind is like, I need to make, like, the Lord needs a place for him to stay that's better than curtains or a tent, right? If I have a house, the Lord should have, you know, if I have wood, like, the Lord should have wood. It's not, you know, so that's what he's thinking. And it's eventually going to lead us to the building of the tabernacle. But, verse 4, and it came to pass that night that the word of the Lord came unto Nathan, saying, go and tell my servant David, thus saith the Lord, shalt thou build me an house for me to dwell in? So now the Lord came unto Nathan and was like, go tell David this. Are you going to, like, are you the one that's going to build a house for me to dwell in, right? Verse 6, whereas I have not dwelt in any house since the time that I brought up the children of Israel out of Egypt, even to this day, but I've walked in the tent and in the tabernacle. So he's like, I ain't had no house. I've been in a tent this whole time. Verse 7, in all the places wherein I have walked with all the children of Israel, spake I a word with any of the tribes of Israel, whom I commanded to feed my people Israel, saying, Why build ye not me an house of cedar? Now therefore, so shalt thou say unto my servant David, Thus saith the Lord of hosts, I took thee from the sheepcote, from following the sheep to be ruler over my people, over Israel. And I was with thee whithersoever thou wentest, and have cut off all thine enemies out of thy sight, and have made thee a great name, like unto the name of the great men that are in the earth. Moreover, I will appoint a place for my people Israel, and will plant them, that they may dwell in a place of their own, and move no more. Neither shall the children of wickedness afflict them any more as before time. And as since the time that I commanded judges to be over my people Israel, and have caused thee to rest from all thine enemies, also the Lord telleth thee that he will make thee an house. And when thy days be fulfilled, and thou shalt sleep with thy fathers, I will set up thy seed after thee, which shall proceed out of thy bowels, and I will establish his kingdom. He shall build an house for my name, and I will establish the throne of his kingdom forever. I will be his father, and he shall be my son. If he commit iniquity, I will chasten him with the rod of men, and with the stripes of the children of men. But my mercy shall not depart away from him, as I took it from Saul, whom I put away before thee. And thine house and thy kingdom shall be established forever before thee. Thy throne shall be established forever. So, this was major to the Lord. It's like, you actually considered me. Like, this whole time I've been dealing in curtains and tents, and you actually had it on your mind to build me a house, right? So it's like the Lord is really, he first off, he said, hey, your son, right? I will set up thy seed after thee, which that shall proceed out of thy bowels, and I will establish his kingdom, and he's going to build the house. So as we read, we'll find out that's Solomon, but this is major because we just read about Saul. And Saul and them got cut off completely, so much that his children tried to, fight with David for the kingdom, but obviously they weren't going to win because, the Lord had already, gave the kingdom to David, point blank period, right? But point being though, dang, my bad, I lost train of thought. But point being, this is the conversation. This is what the Lord is. This is what Nathan is being instructed by the Lord to tell David. Like, hey, I will be his father, talking about David's son. I'm going to take care of your son, basically. And if he committed iniquity, I'm going to chasten him, just like a good father does. Verse 15. But my mercy shall not depart away from him, as I took it from Saul, whom I put away from before thee. So as I was just saying, hey, we just seen Saul, and Saul's experience was terrible. He was king, and then he started being disobedient, and now, like him, his seed, they got cut off. That's just how that worked, right? But what he's saying is, David, that's not going to be like you. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to do what I did to Saul to you. Right? But I'm going to take care of your children, your son. And thine house and thy kingdom shall be established forever before thee. Thy throne shall be established forever. And, as we read the New Testament, we speak about the new kingdom, and the throne of David. David ruling over Jerusalem. Point being, David's throne is going to be established forever, in the return of the Lord. But we'll get there as we continue to read. Verse 17. According to all these words and according to all this vision, so did Nathan speak to David. So Nathan told David. Then went King David in and sat before the Lord, and he said, Who am I, O Lord, and what is my house that thou hast brought me hitherto? And this was yet a small thing in thy sight, O Lord God. But thou hast spoken also of thy servant's house for a great while to come. And this is the manner of man, O Lord God. And what can David say more unto thee? For thou, Lord God, knowest thy servant. For thy word's sake, and according to thine own heart, hast thou done all these great things to make thy servants known now. This part hits. I just shivers reading it, but he's like, this David talking, and he's like, this is a small thing in your sight. Like, it's not like I'm doing anything major, but thou hast spoken also of thy servant's house for a great while to come. So he's like, this is a small thing, and you're speaking a great thing to me, right? Which is so dope, because it's like, God don't require much. You get what I'm saying? Like God is very well, like, I don't want to say easygoing, but you know what I'm saying? He doesn't require a lot. You just do the little thing. Look at what he said. This was yet a small thing in thy sight. Like, this was not no big this was a small thing, but thou hast spoken also of thy servant's house, of my house, David's house, for a great while to come. This is the manner, O Lord God. Like, but cause I thought I didn't even do nothing. I just thought of this small thing. Now my son, you gonna love, take care of my son, raise up, establish his kingdom too. You're gonna do this great thing, all because I thought a small thing. But that's the God we serve, man. But it took David loving God like that for him to think about that. And as he's the king and he has everything he could ever want in life, but for him to still humble himself and not look onto his own things, but look onto the things of others, specifically God. Right? That's what makes David so special. And these are the qualities that we need to be instilling in us and to do. Like, look onto the thing God has things that God has business that we need to be taken care of. Think of it like that. Well, verse 21. For thy word's sake and according to thine own heart hast thou done all these great things to make thy servant know them. Wherefore thou art great, O Lord God, for there is none like thee, neither is there any God besides thee, according to all that we have heard with our ears. And what one nation in the earth is like thy people, even like Israel, whom God went to redeem for a people to himself, and to make him a name, and to do for you great things and terrible for thy land, before thy people, which thou redeemest to thee from Egypt, from the nations and their gods. For thou hast confirmed to thyself thy people Israel to be a people unto thee forever. And thou, Lord, art become their God. And now, O Lord God, the word that thou hast spoken concerning thy servant and concerning his house, establish it forever, and do as thou hast said. And let thy name be magnified forever, saying, the Lord of hosts is the God over Israel. And let the house of the servant David be established before thee. For thou, O Lord of hosts, God of Israel, hast revealed to thy servant, saying, I will build thee an house. Therefore hath thy servant found it in his heart to pray this prayer unto thee. And now, O Lord God, thou art that God, and thy words be true. And thou hast promised this goodness unto thy servant. Therefore now let it please thee to bless the house of thy servant, that it may continue forever before thee. For thou, O Lord God, hast spoken it. And with thy blessings, let the house of thy servant be blessed forever. Right. You know, that was David acknowledging God. One thing I really like is this. Like, again, this is the king of Israel. Right. But to God, I'm just a servant. Right. It's just showing the humility of David and the humility of a servant of God, no matter your position. You know, and that's kind of why in the New Testament, where Jesus says it's harder for a rich man to enter into heaven than, what does it say, a camel with some in his eye. I can't remember exactly how the saying goes, but the point is, when you got these riches and you got these, you know, and you're prospering in this life, sometimes you forget that it's the Lord giving it to you, and you start trusting in yourself. You know, I did this, you know, I put in the work for this, you know, you start relying on your money and things of that nature, and you in essence kind of forget your relationship with the Lord. Like, or you become overly righteous in some cases. But point being, hey, David, with the abundance of everything he could ever want, still recognizes himself as just a servant to the Lord, right? And that's with all of us, man. We're all just a servant of the Lord at the end of the day. We can be great. We can be doctors, philosophers, lawyers, you know, influencers on the internet, great people with millions of followers. At the end of the day, you're just a servant to the Lord, right? And when you acknowledge that and you keep the main thing, which is serving the Lord, and your walk becomes a lot easier. Distractions and temptations become few because I'm just serving the Lord. Like, is this serving the Lord? No? Okay, I'm not going to do it. right? Point being, like, that's your mission. That's your mindset. Is, hey, I'm just serving the Lord. I need to be serving the Lord, right? So no matter what you do, you can remember and keep that foundation of, I'm a servant of God, right? But anyway, that's chapter 7. You know, God promising or establishing David, promising David that his son will rule after him and he's going to establish his kingdom. And David's response to that, David thanking the Lord, really. He also was like, all right, Lord, let it please thee to bless the house of thy servant. Like, go ahead, you know what I'm saying? Look out for me. But anyway, chapter 8. We could just move right on to chapter 8, verse 1. And after this it came to pass that David smote the Philistines and subdued them. And David took Methegamah out of the hand of the Philistines. And he smote Moab and measured them with a line, casting them down to the ground. Even with 2 lines measured he to put to death, and with 1 full line to keep alive. And so the Moabites became David's servants and brought gifts. David smote also Hadadezer the son of Rehob, king of Zobah, as he went to recover his border at the river Euphrates. And David took from him 1,000 chariots and 700 horsemen and 20,000 footmen. And David houghed all the chariot horses, but reserved to them 400 chariots. And when the Syrians of Damascus came to succor Hadadezer, king of Zobah, restart verse 5. And when the Syrians of Damascus came to succor Hadadezer, king of Zobah, David slew the Syrians 220,000 men. Then David put garrisons in Syria of Damascus, and the Syrians became servants to David and brought gifts. And the Lord preserved David whithersoever he went. And David took the shields of gold that were on the servants of Hadadezer and brought them to Jerusalem. And from Bedah and from Beth Berothai, cities of Hadadezer, King David took exceeding much brass. When Tob, king of Hamath, heard that David had smitten all the host of Hadadezer, then Tob sent Joram his son unto King David to salute him and to bless him, because he had fought against Hadadezer and smitten him. For Hadadezer had wars with Tob, and Joram brought with him vessels of silver and vessels of gold and vessels of brass, which also King David did dedicate unto the Lord with the silver and gold that he dedicated of all the nations which he subdued, of Syria and of Moab and of the children of Ammon and of the Philistines and of Amalek and of the spoil of Hadadezer, son of Rehob, king of Zobah. And David gave him a name when he returned from smiting the Syrians in the valley of Salt, being 18,000 men. So says he got him. He's already king, but at this point, like, people are recognizing, bro, you can't touch this man, right? I'm so sorry. Give me 1 second. Let me make sure this is actually recording. I meant to check earlier. Okay, cool. Apologies for that, but yeah. So David's getting a name. People are starting to understand. It says he smit of the Syrians in the valley of Salt, being 18,000. He got 18,000 kills, right? Point being, he said he's something not to play with, right? Verse 14, and he put garrisons in Edom. Throughout all Edom he put garrisons, and all they of Edom became David's servants. And the Lord preserved David whithersoever he went. And David reigned over all Israel, and David executed judgment and justice unto all his people. And Joab the son of Zeruiah was over the host, and Jehoshaphat the son of Ahilud was recorder. And Zadok the son of Ahitub and Ahimelech the son of Abiathar were the priests, and Sariah was the scribe. And Benaiah the son of Jehoiada was over both the Cherethites and the Perethites. And David's sons were chief rulers. So we kind of got this is his, I guess you could say, staff. Like, you got Joab, he's over the host, like the army. Jehoshaphat says he was the recorder. Zadok and Ahimelech, those are the priests. Sariah the scribe. So this is his staff, this is his people, right, that he has doing certain jobs. But the point is, so David went on this conquest, I guess you would say. It even says in verse 12, he got Syria, Moab, Ammon, the Philistines, Amalek. Like, he went crazy. He got to going out, he got to fighting, right? But that's all I got to say about chapter 8, though. So I just move right into chapter 9. Verse 1. And David said, "Is there yet any that is left of the house of Saul, that I may show him kindness for Jonathan's sake?" So now David, being a real one that he is, he's like, hey, is there anyone to the left of Saul's seed that like I can show kindness to for David's sake? Like, because for Jonathan's sake, because Jonathan was a good person. Verse 2. And there was at the house of Saul a servant whose name was Ziba. And when they called him unto David, the king said unto him, "Art thou Ziba?" And he said, "Thy servant is he." And the king said, "Is there not yet any of the house of Saul, that I may show the kindness of God unto him?" And Ziba said unto the king, "Jonathan hath yet a son which is lame on his feet." And the king said unto him, "Where is he?" And Ziba said unto the king, "Behold, he is in the house of Machir, the son of Ammiel, in Lo-debar." Then King David sent and fetched him out of the house of Machir, the son of Ammiel, from Lo-debar. Now when Mephibosheth, the son of Jonathan, the son of Saul, was come unto David, he fell on his face and did reverence. And David said, "Mephibosheth." And he answered, "Behold, thy servant." So now David's looking for, David's trying, because, David and Jonathan were friends. If you remember reading First Samuel, Jonathan went to bat for David on multiple occasions, going against his own father to protect David. So they was really like brothers, locked in, loved each other. So David here, as king, is, trying to, for lack of better words, just look out for, his friend's seed, or, do good to his friend's family because of his friend, right? So David, he's like, hey, is there any seed of Saul left, like, that I can show love to for Jonathan's sake? And they're like, yeah. And so they end up finding Mephibosheth, which is the actual son of Jonathan, right? And so now David's interacting with Mephibosheth. Verse 7, and David said unto him, "Fear not, for I will surely show thee kindness for Jonathan thy father's sake." So David was like, hey, like, no need to worry, man. I'm show love to you for your father's sake, right? "And will restore thee all the land of Saul thy father, and thou shalt eat bread at my table continually." So he's like, and I'm gonna give you all the land of Saul, and you gonna eat with me. Like, I'm gonna take care of you. Verse 8, and he bowed himself and said, "What is thy servant that thou shouldest look upon such a dead dog as I am?" So that's his response. Like, basically, why is you doing this for me? Right. Verse 9. Then the king called to Ziba, Saul's servant, and said unto him, "I have given unto thy master's son all that pertain to Saul and to all his house. Thou therefore and thy sons and thy servants shall till the land for him, and thou shalt bring in the fruits, that thy master's son may have food to eat. But Mephibosheth, thy master's son, shall eat bread always at my table." Now Ziba had 15 sons and 20 servants. Then said Ziba unto the king, "According to all that my lord the king hath commanded his servant, so shall thy servant do. As for Mephibosheth, said the king, he shall eat at my table as one of the king's sons." So he's really taking Mephibosheth as his own son, which is rightfully so. Like, Jonathan was his brother. Not his real brother, but you get what I'm saying? Like, so he's taking care of his brother's child. Verse 12, and Mephibosheth had a young son whose name was Micah, and all that dwelt in the house of Ziba were servants of Mephibosheth. So Mephibosheth dwelt in Jerusalem, for he did eat continually at the king's table, and was lame on both his feet. One being this man Mephibosheth, he rose, like, David made a decree. Like, he was like, hey, I've given all that pertained unto Saul to Mephibosheth. So he's telling Ziba, like, you and all y'all's people, y'all gonna till the land, y'all gonna be the workers of the land for Mephibosheth, right? Yeah, y'all gonna, like it says in verse 10, till the land for him and bring him the fruit that thy master's son may have food to eat. So he's like, hey, like, I've given it to him, but y'all gonna do the work. Y'all gonna sow, till the land, bring him the food, right? But point is, he's lifted this man up in honor of Jonathan, right? gave him back all the land of Saul and things of that nature. But yeah, this chapter to me is so dope because Jonathan like really helped this man out on numerous occasions. Like they was really friends, really loved one. So it's good to see that he, obviously he's David. He's a man of God. He's not gonna forget that. But for him to still come back and look out for his best friend's children, despite all the stuff that went on with him and Saul, because that's the real big thing. Like Saul and them family was trying to knock David off. They was trying to take the kingdom from him. So point being, like despite all that, he still went out looking for, someone that he could show love to for Jonathan's sake. So that to me is dope. But with that being said, it's a pretty simple chapter. I don't have too much else to add to that, so we can just go right into 10. Chapter 10. Hanun changed David's... Oh, I'm tripping. Chapter 10. And it came to pass after this that the king of the children of Ammon died, and Hanun his son reigned in his stead. So you got the children, you got the king of Ammon died. So a new king arose. Just like, with Joseph in the book of Genesis, when, Joseph did all these great things for Egypt, and the Pharaoh of Egypt loved Joseph and loved his whole family. But when that Pharaoh died, potentially another Pharaoh, but the point is when another Pharaoh came up, things changed, right? So the same thing is happening here. Verse 1, it says, the king of the children of Ammon died, and Hanun his son reigned in his stead. Then said David, I will show kindness unto Hanun the son of Nahash, as his father showed kindness unto me. And David sent to comfort him by the hand of his servants for his father. And David, so because Nahash, if you remember reading, show love, show kindness. Unto David. So now David's trying to show kindness to Hanun. He's like, verse 2, then said David, I will show kindness unto Hanun, the son of Nahash, as his father showed kindness unto me. And David sent to comfort him by the hand of his servant for his father. And David's servants came into the land of the children of Ammon, and the princes of the children of Ammon said to Hanun their lord, thinkest thou that David doth honor thy father, that he have sent comforters unto thee? So David's sending gifts and to Hanun, right? But he has people in his ear that's like, you really thinkest thou that David doth honor thy father, that he sent comforters unto thee? Have not David rather sent his servants unto thee to search the city and to spy it out and to overthrow it? So these people are like basically telling them like, David ain't doing this for you, for your comfort. He's trying to spy out the city and in hopes that he can overthrow it, right? So he's putting that seed of thought into this man's mind. But verse 4, wherefore Hanun took David's servants and shaved off that one half of their beard and cut off their garments in the middle, even to their buttocks, and sent them away. So because, he ended up taking heed to that line of thinking, he was like, so this is what he did. All the people that David sent, he cut half their beard off, right? And cut off their garments in the middle, even to their buttocks. Like they got their butt cheeks hanging out, right? And sent them away. So this is what he did. It's kind of crazy. Verse 5, when they told it unto David, he sent to meet them, because the men were greatly ashamed. And the king said, tarry at Jericho until your beards be grown, and then return. And when the children of Ammon saw that they stank before David, the children of Ammon sent and hired the Syrians of Beth-Rehob and the Syrians of Zobah, 20,000 footmen, and of King Maacah 1,000 men, and of Ishtab 12,000 men. And when David heard of it, he sent Joab and all the host of the mighty men. And the children of Ammon came out and put the battle in array at the entering in of the gate. And the Syrians of Zobah and of Rehob and of Ishtab and of Maacah were by themselves in the field. When Joab saw that the front of the battle was against him before and behind, He chose of all the choice men of Israel and put them in array against the Syrians. And the rest of the people he delivered into the hand of Abishai his brother, that he might put them in array against the children of Ammon. And he said, if the Syrians be too strong for me, then thou shalt help me. But if the children of Ammon be too strong for thee, then I will come help thee. So they've separated their group, right? They're going to attack this head on, right? And if you need help, I'm going to come help you. If you need help, if I need help, you come help me, right? Verse 12. Be of good courage, and let us play for the men of our people and for the cities of our God. And the Lord do that which seemeth good. And Joab drew nigh, and the people that were with him unto the battle against the Syrians, and they fled before him. And when the children of Ammon saw that the Syrians were fled, then fled they also before Abishai, and entered into the city. So Joab returned from the children of Ammon and came to Jerusalem. So Israel ended up ending that war, right? The Syrians, children of Ammon, they ended up fleeing, which they really weren't supposed to go to war anyway. David was doing something for out the kindness of his own heart, but you know, what's the saying? What's that quote in the New Testament? Evil communication corrupt good manners. But anyway, verse 16. Verse 15. And when the Syrians saw that they were smitten before Israel, they gathered themselves together. And Hadadezer sent and brought out the Syrians that were beyond the river, and they came to Helam. And Shobach, the captain of the host of Hadadezer, went before him. And when it was told David, he gathered all to Israel together and passed over Jordan, and came to Helam. And the Syrians set themselves in array against David and followed him. And the Syrians fled before Israel. And David slew the men of 700 chariots of the Syrians and 40,000 horsemen, and smote Shobach, the captain of their host, who died there. And when all the kings that were servants to Hadadezer saw that they were smitten before Israel, they made peace with Israel and served them. So the Syrians feared to help the children of Ammon anymore. Man, beat them so bad they don't want to help Ammon no more. It's funny, but point being, we see David's good deed turn into all-out war. Like, they go get all types of reinforcements to fight against David and against Israel. But, of course, you know, David and them won. You know what I mean? So, with that being said, I don't really have anything else to add to that chapter. So, go right into chapter 11. 11 verse 1. And it came to pass after the year was expired, at the time when verse 1. And it came to pass after the year was expired, at the time when kings go forth to battle, that David sent Joab and his servants with him and all Israel. And they destroyed the children of Ammon and besieged Rabbah. But David tarried still at Jerusalem. And it came to pass in the evening tide that David arose from off his bed and walked upon the roof of the king's house. And from the roof he saw the woman washing herself, and the woman was very beautiful to look upon. So hey, a lot of, Israel going out to war. They're taking over, certain cities. But meanwhile, David, he's still in Israel, right? And then he says he went to the roof of the king's house, and looking down, he seen a woman washing herself, taking a shower, taking a bath, whatever. Point being, why is she on the visible taking a shower bath? We don't know. It's just why? But a lot of people say she knew what she was doing, but who knows? Verse 3. And David sent and inquired after the woman. And one said, is not this Bathsheba, the daughter of Eliam, the wife of Uriah the Hittite? So David, sent somebody and was like, who is this girl? Tell me about her. And the man said, this is Bathsheba, the wife of Uriah the Hittite. So she's a married woman. Verse 4, and David sent messengers and took her, and she came in unto him, and he laid with her. For she was purified from her uncleanness, and she returned unto her house. So, hey, David still, after hearing that information, went, sent messengers unto her, got her, took her, laid with her, right? And the woman conceived and sent and told David and said, I am with child. So after that, hey, what was supposed to turn into just a one night of me sinning, now the woman pregnant. right? And so she went and told David that. Verse 6. And David sent to Joab, saying, send me Uriah the Hittite. And Joab sent Uriah to David. And when Uriah was come unto him, David demanded of him how Joab did, and how the people did, and how the war prospered. So Uriah, meanwhile, all this is happening, and Uriah is fighting for Israel right now, right? So point is, once David gets the news of Bathsheba being pregnant, he tells Uriah to come back. Right, so now Uriah has left the war. He's came back to David, and he's like, it says he demanded him of Joab how the people. So he's making small talk. Yeah, how's the war going? How's the people doing? Verse 8. And David said to Uriah, go down to thy house and wash thy feet. And Uriah departed from out of the king's house, and there followed him a mess of meat from the king. So now David's like, yeah, go home. It says wash your feet, right? Go take, enjoy your day off. Right, verse 9. But Uriah slept at the door of the king's house with all the servants of his lord, and went not down to his house. So Uriah stayed right outside the king's house, slept at the door. Right, verse 10. And when they had told David, saying, Uriah went not down unto this house, David said unto Uriah, camest thou not from thy journey? Why then didst thou not go down unto thine house? And Uriah said unto David, the ark in Israel and Judah abide in tents, and my lord Joab and the servants of my lord are encamped in the open fields. Shall I then go into mine house to eat and to drink and to lie with my wife? So he's asking, like, bro, we at war right now. Like, Israel, Judah, the ark of God is out there fighting, dwelling in tents, and you want me to go home and lay with my wife and drink and have a good time? Right? He's like, no. As thou livest and as thy soul liveth, I will not do this thing. So he's like, listen, with all due respect, I'm not going home. Like, I really could. He really I can go back out to war right now. I don't even know why I'm back here. Right, verse 12. And David said to Uriah, tarry here today also, and tomorrow I will let thee depart. So Uriah abode in Jerusalem that day and the morrow. And when David had called him, he did eat and drink before him, and he made him drunk. And at even he went out to lie on his bed with the servants of his Lord, but went not down to his house. So the next day he's like, hey, we're going to drink, So David ended up getting Uriah drunk. Still didn't go home. Right there, that's a key, fellas. That he ain't do that for no reason. Point being that, drink. Be careful with who and where and why you drinking. You know what I mean? Because drink can have you commit sin against God. Right? But point being, verse 14. And it came to pass in the morning that David wrote a letter to Joab and sent it by the hand of Uriah. So now he sent Uriah back to the war, but he brought a letter with him to give to Joab. Verse 15. And he wrote in the letter saying, set ye Uriah in the forefront of the hottest battle, and retire ye from him, that he may be smitten and die. So David is telling Joab, hey, put Uriah at the forefront, at the front lines of the hottest, most active battle, and retire from him, meaning back. Like, don't help him, right? Like, so he can die, right? So David is really killing this man. Verse 16, and it came to pass when Joab observed the city that he assigned Uriah unto a place where he knew that valiant men were. And it's so sad because, this man could have been at home chilling, but he wanted to fight with his country, for God. Right? And he still got lit up. So, but verse 17, and the men of the city went out and fought with Joab. And there fell some of the people of the servants of David, and Uriah the Hittite died also. So Joab ended up doing what David said. Uriah died. Verse 18, then Joab sent and told David all the things concerning the war, and charged the messenger, saying, when thou hast made an end of telling the matters of the war unto the king, and if so be that the king's wrath arise, and he say unto thee, wherefore approached ye so nigh into the city when ye did fight? Know ye not that they would shoot from the wall? Who smote Abimelech the son of Jerubasheth? Did not a woman cast a piece of millstone upon him from the wall that he died in the best? Why went ye nigh to the wall? Then say thou, thy servant Uriah the Hittite is dead. So he's telling him, hey, tell him Like when you give him the account of what happened and he starts getting angry because he is going to get angry. Really, it's not a smart tactic. High ground is always, the superior place to be. So he's like, hey, when you go up to David and he starts getting angry, he says, why did you get so close into the city? Don't you know that they can shoot you from the wall? Like, right. Point being, he was like, so when he starts getting angry, just say Uriah the Hittite is dead. Which is crazy because it's like then David will know, oh, that's why we did that. But point being 22. So the messenger went and came and showed David all that Joab had sent for him. And the messenger said unto David, surely the men prevailed against us and came out unto us into the field, and we were upon them even unto the entering in of the gate. And the shooters shot from off the wall upon thy servant. And some of thy king's servants be dead, and thy servant Uriah the Hittite is dead also. Then David said unto the messenger, thus shalt thou say unto Joab, let not the stain despise thee, for the sword devoureth one as well as another. Make thy battle more strong against the city, and overthrow it, and encourage thou him. And when the wife of Uriah heard that Uriah her husband was dead, she mourned for her husband. And when the mourning was past, David sent and fetched her to his house, and she became his wife, and bare him a son. But this thing that David had done displeased the Lord. Obviously. That's the end of chapter 11. But this is probably one of the main errors that we can read David making. Right? David not only slept with a married woman, which means he committed adultery, instead of owning his mistake and, facing the consequences of it, he made it worse by having a man killed so his secret doesn't get out to the rest of the world, right? Point being, he just added on to a sin. Not only did he commit adultery, he's now murdered a man. And so it displeases the Lord. Like, the Lord's angry at him about it. But that's really that's the story of David and Bathsheba, right? How they ended up getting together. Because they did get married at the end of the day, because that was legal, I guess. Right? Once a woman's husband dies, she's now can marry whoever she wants. So, but how the man, like everything else was flawed. So this is how David and Bathsheba met. He went out there just on a regular day, and lo and behold, she out there just bathing herself. Why? I still don't understand. Me personally, I don't understand why you openly, like, especially now in today's time, you might couldn't comprehend it a little bit, because the women of today's time aren't the same as they were back then. But so back then it was like women were covered. So for you to be like it even says, and from the roof he saw a woman wash. So for you to be openly visible, washing yourself butt naked, right? That's just odd. Like, so to me, I don't understand it. It almost sounds like, I don't know. I'm not going to throw my accusations out there. But point being, he seen her, wanted her, slept with her, got her pregnant. All this is funny because it could have went so many different ways. Like, but the Lord made sure, like, it happened. Like, yeah, you thought, like, you the king, to whom much is given, much is required. Nobody's supposed to be committing adultery. But David, you for sure ain't supposed to be committing adultery. So, yeah, you committed adultery. Now she pregnant. Like, if she just didn't get pregnant, you know what I'm saying? This, it could have just been a one-time thing. Lord, he repent. You know what I'm saying? He may apologize to Uriah. Nope. Now she pregnant. So now you gotta live with that, right? And then instead of David owning that and, repenting for that, things of that nature, now he kills Uriah. So, point being, that's chapter 11, though. It's really just a simple story of how David committed adultery and had a man killed. All right. But, chapter 12 and verse 1. This will probably be the last chapter right here too, but chapter 12 and verse 1. And the Lord sent Nathan unto David, and he said unto him, and said unto him, he came unto him and said unto him, there were two men in one city, the one rich and the one poor. The rich man had exceeding many flocks and herds, but the poor man had nothing, save one little ewe lamb, which he had bought and nursed up. And it grew up together with him and with his children. It did eat of his own meat and drank of his own cup and lay in his bosom and was unto him as a daughter. So now this man Nathan came up to David, and he's giving him a parable, really. But he's telling him a story. He's like, hey, so there was two men in the city. There was one rich, there was one poor. The poor basically had nothing. Right? The rich had everything, the poor had nothing. All the poor had was this one little ewe lamb that he built this bond with. It says it was like a daughter unto him, right? Verse 4, and there came a traveler, there came a traveler rich man, and he spared to take his own flock and of his own herd to dress for the wayfaring. No. And there came a traveler unto the rich man, and he spared to take of his own flock and of his own herd to dress for the wayfaring man that was come unto him. But he took the poor man's lamb and dressed it for the man that was come to him. So now, in the story, you got the rich man. The rich man has like a man coming in from out of town, you could say. And so he's preparing, he's preparing something for the man that's coming in, the wayfaring man, right? Point is, instead of the rich man using his own, he took the one ewe lamb that the poor man had to dress it up and to keep it, right? So verse 5, and David's anger was greatly kindled against the man. And he said unto Nathan, as the Lord liveth, that man that have done this thing shall surely die. So David's mad like anyone would be. Like, you mean, like, you hate, like, oftentimes we hate rich, selfish scumbags. And that's really what this man looked like. He's like, bro, you got all the lambs and stuff in the world, and you took the one lamb that this poor man had that was like a daughter unto him. So just like David, even I would be mad hearing that, just like most of us would, right? And David was like, just like, as the Lord liveth, like, he's like, basically, you know what I'm saying? In our terms, which I'm not saying we need to be doing this at all, but we'll be like swear to God or you putting it on something. Like, he's like, as the Lord liveth, the man that had done this thing shall surely die. Right. Verse 6, and he shall restore the lamb fourfold because he did this thing and because he had no pity. So now you're going to restore fourfold the lamb, right? So you're going to die and pay this man back 4 times. Verse 7, and Nathan said to David, thou art the man. Thus saith the king, the Lord of Israel, I anointed thee king of Israel, and I delivered thee out of the hand of Saul. So now Nathan is breaking it down to him. He's like, you the man, David. You the man. You're the man that I just talked about. He's going to explain more. He's like, I anointed thee king over Israel, and I delivered thee out of the hand of Saul. Verse 8, and I gave thee thy master's house and thy master's wives into the bosom, and gave thee the house of Israel and of Judah. And if that had been too little, I would moreover have given unto thee such and such things. She was like, bro, I gave you everything. I gave you a master's house, your master's wife, all this land. You're literally king. And he's like, if all that was too little for you, I would have gave you more and more. Right? Verse 9. Wherefore hast thou despised the commandment of the Lord to do evil in his sight? So he's like, why did you break the law of God? Right? To do evil in his sight, that thou hast killed Uriah the Hittite with the sword, and hast taken his wife to be thy wife, and hast slain him with the sword of the children of Ammon. So even here, God is recognizing what David did as murder. He killed Uriah, right? And he also took his wife. So it's like, why did you do this? If a beautiful woman is what you want, I would have got you a beautiful woman. You didn't have to go take this man's wife and then kill him. Verse 10, now therefore the sword shall never depart from thine house, because thou hast despised me and hast taken the wife of Uriah the Hittite to be thy wife. So it's like, now the sword is never going to stop. Now there's going to be problems in your household forever. Why? Because you did this against the law. Why would you do this? Verse 11, thus saith the Lord, behold, I will raise up evil against thee out of thine own house, and I will take thy wives before thine eyes and give them unto thy neighbor. And he shall lie with thy wives in the sight of this son. For thou didst it secretly, but I will do this thing before all Israel and before the sun. So it's like, yeah, you did everything to keep your stuff a secret. I'm gonna do all this openly. Like, point is, you're gonna face the consequences for this, David. Right, verse 13. And David said unto Nathan, I have sinned against the Lord. And Nathan said unto David, the Lord also hath put away thy sin. Thou shalt not die. So it's like, you're not going to die, David. Right? But you is going to have these punishments on you. Verse 14, howbeit, because by this deed thou hast given great occasion to the enemies of the Lord to blaspheme, the child also that is born unto thee shall surely die. So it's like, look, with all that being said, though, this baby's going to die. Like, you're not going to give the Lord's enemies, which is not even like other nations. It could be people in Israel that are just want to have something to say, right? We're not going to give them nothing to say about the Lord. Like, I chose you, you're the king of Israel, and let them have something to say. We're not going to do that. So the baby's got to die, right? Verse 15, and Nathan departed unto his house, and the Lord struck the child that Uriah's wife bare unto David, and it was very sick. So, hey, she ended up having this baby. Now the baby very sick. Verse 16, David therefore besought God for the child, and David fasted and went in and lay all night upon the earth. So despite what God said, hey, David doing everything in his power to keep this baby alive. Like, despite the baby coming from sin, it's still his baby, and he doesn't want it to die. But verse 17, and the elders of the house arose and went to him to raise him up from the earth, but he would not, neither did he eat bread with them. So now, like, the elders, like the people that's with him, like trying to get him up, trying to get him to eat. Because right now he's fasting, he's mourning, he's trying to get the Lord's attention for the Lord to grant his petition, for the Lord to save this baby. So the elders are like, hey, arise, come eat, things of that nature. But he didn't do it. Neither did he eat bread with them, which is very important, which is something I want us to pay attention to. Verse 18. One and drink. And it came to pass on the 7th day that the child died. So 7 days later, the child died. And the servants of David feared to tell him that the child was dead. For they said, behold, while the child was yet alive, we spake unto him, and he would not hearken unto our voice. How will he then vex himself if we tell him that the child is dead? So, hey, the child ends up dying, and the people are scared to tell David. They're like, shoot, David was angry, upset when the baby was still alive. How much more upset and angry is he going to be when we tell him that it's dead? So they were scared to tell him. Verse 19. But when David saw that his servants whispered, David perceived that the child was dead. Therefore David said unto his servants, is the child dead? And they said, he is dead. Then David arose from the earth and washed and anointed himself and changed his apparel and came into the house of the Lord and worshiped. Then he came to his own house. And when he required, they set bread before him, and he did eat. Then said his servants unto him, what thing is this that thou hast done? Thou didst fast and weep for the child while it was yet alive. But when the child was dead, thou didst rise and eat bread. Like, this was confusing to him. It's like, as soon as the child died, David got up, took a shower, ate, went and praised the Lord. Like, what is a typical time for most parents or people to be mourning, he started praising the Lord, and he got back, I'm not going to say to his regular self, but he wasn't in that same funk, I guess you could say. So they were like, what is this? And verse 22, he's going to explain why. And he said, while the child was yet alive, I fasted and wept. For I said, who can tell whether God will be gracious to me that the child may live? So David right here is like, well, when the child was alive, hey, I fasted and I wept. And basically, he made this petition to the Lord. Why? Because he said, who can tell what God would be gracious to me that the child may? So he's like, while the child was alive, hey, who knows? God could have had a change of heart. God could have God could have basically saved the child. Show some mercy, show some grace. Right? But verse 23, but now that he is dead, wherefore should I fast? So he's like, but now the baby's dead. Like, why am I going to continue to fast and mourn? Right? Can I bring him back again? I shall go to him, but he shall not return to me. So it's like, I'm going to go to him, meaning I'm going to die. But he's not coming back to me. He's not coming back from the dead. Like, he's dead now. And that's an important thing because, it's all about what God's control, right? And I think this is important for all of us to understand with death and without death. Like, in any situation we face in life, for real, that, hey, it is okay to fight pray, fast, urge God, show God you're real passionate about this. And if he don't bring it to pass, move on. Like, it's really that simple. And I feel like David does a great job at giving us example of that and showing us that, hey, it's all according to the Lord's will. I can pray and I can fast and I can do everything I can to try to get this job. Excuse me. But if the Lord don't give me the job, hey, what I'm gonna do? Pout? Cry about it? No. Hey, it's on to the next. Like, it just wasn't meant to be. And that's kind of what David showed here. Like, he's like, hey, like when the baby was alive, I had every right to fast and to make my petition to the Lord. But now that the baby's dead, the baby's dead. There's no reason for me to keep going in this same, funk, or like, what am I fasting for? What am I, you know what I'm saying? So point being, it's a great example for us to hold on to. But verse 24, and David comforted Bathsheba his wife, and went in unto her, and lay with her. And she bare a son, and he called his name Solomon, and the Lord loved him. And he sent by the hand of Nathan the prophet, and he called his name Jedediah, Jedediah, because of the Lord. And Joab fought against Rabbah of the children of Ammon, and took the royal city. And Joab sent messengers to David, and said, I have fought against Rabbah, and have taken the cities of water. But anyway, we have the birth of Solomon. Right, so in this process, I don't say how long after, David just comforted his wife Bathsheba, and they eventually had another child, and his name was Bathsheba. Right? His name was Solomon. Right. Now therefore, verse 28. Now therefore, gather the rest of the people together, and encamp against the city, and take it, lest I take the city, and it be called after thy name. And David gathered all the people together, and went to Rabbah, and fought against it, and took it. And he took their king's crown from off his head, the weight whereof was a talent of gold with the precious stones. And it was set on David's head. And he brought forth the spoil of the city in great abundance. And he brought forth the people that were therein, and put them under saws, and under harrows of iron, and under axes of iron, and made them pass through the brickling. And thus did he unto all the cities of the children of Ammon. So David and all the people returned unto Jerusalem. So they went back, took over Rabbah, fought against it, took it, things of that nature, reaped the benefits of it. But that's chapter 12, and that's, the end of the story, I guess you could say, of David and Bathsheba. But you see, hey, David slept with this married woman, killed her husband, then took her to marry, and the Lord was mad at it. It's that simple. The Lord, like, he sinned against God, right? And so he faced the punishment. And we're going to continue to see the punishment when he means the sword in his house forever. We'll read about that later, but point is, hey, so the child that David and Bathsheba made, the Lord ended up killing. That baby died, and then they had a new baby boy whose name was Solomon, who will be the future king, the next king, the third king of Israel. But we'll get into that once we start getting into 1 Kings, which is the next book. But with that being said, that's the end of chapter 12, and that's what we'll call it today. So we're at 2 Samuel, chapter 6 through 12, which was a very good read. Again, we say this mostly every time, but if you have any questions or anything of that nature, feel free to leave them in the comments, and we'll get back as soon as possible. We should be relatively quick if you leave them in there, but with that being said, that's where we'll call it today. What I want to go to. No, that's it. So we'll just call it there. I pray that you have a great rest of your day and an even better tomorrow. And remember to keep the word of the Lord in your mind. Strengthen yourself up in the word of God so that you can actually have a chance to fight against Satan and them. So with that being said, peace in Jesus' name, guys.